You're listening to the What's the Fuzz podcast, where we break you out of your vacuum seal and get down to what's real. Never miss another episode again. Subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows. And now, your host, Reiner.
Hey everyone, it's your favorite blue dragon with the wagon. Welcome to the show, new listeners and old listeners. Thanks for tuning in. It's August 3rd today, and yes, the BLM protests are still going strong. Today I'm sitting down with Zeon.
Hi,
Got you off a little off guard there.
I didn't know if I should say hi or not.
Yeah, that's your cue to say hi. Anyways, to talk about if there's any racial prejudice in the fandom, the effects it has on mental health, and if trans furs are treated differently. Before we get into that, I wanted to tell you all about some good news. Harvest Moon Howl Fest, the BIPOC ran FurCon, is set for, according to the website, October 20th through 24th, 2022, at Camp Ramblewood, a beautiful 200-acre private campground property of Darlington, Maryland. Personally, I'm not one for camping, but I'm excited to go to this one. God damn it. My fucking sound engineer just woke up. Okay. Whatever. We don't need him. Anyways.
We don't need him.
It'll be in late October, which is perfect jacket weather, and hopefully there won't be too many bugs, because I fucking can't deal with bugs.
I don't know how to camp. I don't know how to camp. I'm just pretending I do so I can go.
Oh, mood. I only remember, roasting marshmallows, I think, and the campfire would emit so much smoke it actually made my eyes burn. So hopefully that won't happen again.
I'm just prepared for me being excited, going hiking on one trail and just passing out for the rest of the con. Zero shape.
That's a total mood. Just pass out on all the plushies you're going to buy. Alright, but otherwise you can just head over to the howlfestcard.co when you're done listening to this episode. Now, like I mentioned before, tonight I'm sitting down with Zeon, the black furry that's absolutely fearless when it comes to talking about race and pointing out injustices inside and out of fandom. You can catch them at Zeonvibe on Twitter, and they're starting their own podcast next week called Furries, Let's Talk About Race. Hey, thanks so much for coming on the show, though.
No problem.
I'm super excited to see how far this rabbit hole goes when it comes to race. I'm new to the whole thing myself, honestly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had an awakening when this whole BLM thing started, specifically with Breonna Taylor, because I live in Evansville, and she was murdered in Louisville, which is an hour away from me. So I was like, holy shit. I could die in my sleep.
Oh, yeah.
Shit.
BLM woke up a lot of people, including me, actually.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
You woke up harder than anybody else I've seen, then.
Oh, yeah. I legit... All of the years of putting up with BS finally caught up with me, and I exploded.
I feel you there. So, Zeon, before we get into the meat of the interview, I like to ask an icebreaker question, even though I forgot to do one last week. Mm-hmm. If you had to choose, would you rather be stuck forever making airplane sonas or slug sonas?
Honestly, slug sonas sound pretty cool.
Cool?
I've never seen a slug sona, but it sounds sort of cool.
So you would like to make one?
Maybe. Don't quote me on that.
Okay, I hope I didn't give you any ideas for the future then.
You already did. It's too late to go.
Now for the first real question.
Uh-oh.
What's your main fursona, and how do you feel it represents you?
Oh, heck. That's a long question. Right now, and forever, my sona is Zeonvibe, the quote-unquote a woo fish, and he's really just a dinosaur in disguise. So he looks like a mammal, but he really isn't, and he has some qualities that show he's not actually a mammal, but no one ever sees them, which is my favorite part because he blends in so well. He represents me because, well, actually, about a year ago when I made him, he was the first Sona I ever made with me in mind instead of trying to meet other people's expectations and all this other stuff. So when I made him, I actually sat down and said, I'm just going to make a Sona that would have the opposite story of me, which would, instead of wanting to be a boy, they would want to be a girl. So I made a dude Sona who was supposed to want to be a girl, but I ended up totally throwing that part out of the window. And I ended up realizing, oh shit, I'm trans. So, it didn't work out the way I thought it would. In fact, it got even more messy when I made him, because I realized this dude represents what I want to look like and not what I was trying to pretend someone that had this opposite parallel universe experience than me looked like. So instead of me trying to use him to justify me trying to continue to fit myself in some box, he ended up representing just me. So instead of trying to put myself in some dumb box where I don't feel happy and everything sucks, I actually feel more myself than ever, because I just realized I was trans thanks to my Sona.
Oh wow.
Oh
You
yeah.
pulled a double reverse Uno chord on yourself.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
I did.
That's crazy.
It really is. Like, ever since I made him, I've gained more confidence. I've learned so much. I realized I made a whole bunch of mistakes before I had any confidence whatsoever, and like, actually, because of him, it like, he got me to realize I needed to leave my parents because they weren't the best, and he did that before I did, and he became such a good person that I sort of just, well, since he's me, I just be myself more because I realize I'm actually a good person. So he's like, he represents a lot of things for me, and I didn't
Aw,
expect
that's
him
so
to.
wholesome.
And then it's crazy because he's super, like, I don't know, he has my same personality, and he looks so different, which I love, because like on the inside he thinks like me, and then he has this giant body that he's not used to, so he's literally like feeling out the world as he goes, just like I am, because both confused and both have no idea what's going on. So it's like he represents a whole bunch of stuff for me, and ever since I started clinging to him more, I started finding my own voice and realizing things that I was going along with other people too much, and he doesn't do that as much, and he's not afraid to say things just like me, and he sort of is probably the best Sona I could have had in a time like this. Oh my
Exactly.
gosh.
At least you guys have each other, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He also lives in an RV, which is my goal. He has this
An
like traveling
RV.
RV where he goes like coast to coast and just makes friends along the way and enjoy life. And like,
Aw.
he has like a pet dog that he takes with him everywhere, and they hang out and play fetch, and he's like this basically goals. Just a man and his dog
Wow. It really
taking on
sounds
the
like he's
world.
living the dream.
It does, doesn't it? But like, he has just such deep, like, he sounds like he has this perfect life, but then like he's just really afraid of being attached to people because he has like emotional and abandonment issues and stuff like that. So like, he literally just encapsulates me. It's crazy how much he encapsulates me. It's
Holy shit.
oh
That's
yeah.
some fucking lore.
Oh yeah. Like, he has this like whole held together personality, but like basically he's like the mantra of my chill is fake, because he has no idea what he's doing, and neither do I. So he's just amazingly fits me. Out of all of the Sonas I've ever had, he's the first one that is like me.jpg. It's crazy.
I'm in this photo and I actually like it.
Exactly. It was like he went from trying to be this like parallel universe, I want to be a girl bullshit, and now he's just goals, which is crazy to me. He has like surgery scars from mastectomy and all that other stuff, and like he's just,
Oh wow.
oh yeah, he totally took a 180 on what I thought he was gonna be. It's and
Oh
it's been a
shit.
good change, so I would do it again, but sooner.
That is definitely one of the better parts of the furry fandom, because you get to make the person that you want to be, and then they can go around and do the things that you want them to do, you know?
Yeah, I actually
It's really
didn't really
nice.
understand furries until then, so.
So what drew you to the fandom? Do you feel like
Um,
it's a big part of your life now?
oh boy. Compared to when I first joined, I would say totally. Like, I literally had no idea there was a community behind the fandom. I had no idea what anything was. Like, I literally went in because a long time ago, back in like the DA days of 2012 or whatever, um,
Mm-hmm.
I got called the quote unquote fur fag, the like 2000s insult, and I got told to go back to FA where I belonged. And I had no idea what FA was. So whoever trolled me on DA was like assuming I knew everything about furriness just because I drew muscular dog people or whatever, and I was just like, what the what's FA? So I Google it and made an account. Did nothing with it because I didn't realize that furries actually were a community until a lot later. So my journey into the fandom has literally probably been the equivalent of a train wreck in slow motion, because everything I've done so far is on complete accident.
I see. So you were like furry adjacent for like a hot minute, like
Oh
a
yeah.
hot minute.
I'm still slowly understanding what anything furry means. Like, I feel like people assume I know exactly what I'm doing, but I really don't.
How do you feel about white artists and furries having personas that are obviously coded black?
Ooh, that's a deep question. It's so ooh. Okay, so when it comes to white, because I see white people with BIPOC and general coded furries as sonas, and there's just something. It depends on, I guess, because some people have a picture of a BIPOC coded person, but it's not because it's their sona, it's because they're like a
Mm-hmm.
character of theirs or something. And like, honestly, I feel like I don't want to come off as trying to like police people and their characters or whatever, but if you're going to make a sona, I feel like it shouldn't come off as not you, if that makes sense. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, if you are white, but your sona is obviously made to try and look like some black person, and you act like a black person, and you like pretend to be black, and you use it as like a like a facade so you can say the N word or something. Like, there's this. No, don't do that. So I guess it just depends on why it's coded that way, more than if they can have it or not. Because once you start getting into this territory that you let people assume that you're this, that, and the other thing, and you start like using that to your advantage, that's when I have to say, no, don't do that. Don't do that. You
Yeah.
gotta make it as like clear as possible to people sometimes, because like when I made Zeon, people assumed I was some buff Jamaican dude.
Oh.
Like, it was weird. Like, I was like, I would talk and people would be like, whoa, I thought you were a Jamaican dude. I was like, what? But like, people do see that. So if you are going to make a sona that's coded to be a certain way, keep that in mind, that people will assume that you're whatever you coded that character as. So you need to make it super, super clear that you're not. And honestly, when it comes down to it, it's just easier not to code your sona that way. Because trust me, people assume, because they did it with me.
Yeah, so you believe in the whole digital blackface thing? Because I know personally, when I see someone online using a GIF of like a black person or like usually the Boondocks or something like that, I assume that it's a black person on the other side. It's just this unconscious
Yeah,
kind of
it's
thing
like
in the
a
back of my mind. I just think, that's a black person.
yeah, like it's not the fact that it's not like I'm not gonna call people racist because they do that. It's just
Mm-hmm.
good to keep in mind what the like the general consensus of people who use that sort of thing is. if that makes sense.
Right.
Because if it was a perfect world, I would totally be fine with you having, like, a persona that's coded to be whatever the fuck. But since we're not in a perfect world, it just comes off as you using it, you know? It's like, maybe if literally everyone was equality, everything was equal, and people had all this, that, and the other thing, and there was nothing bad going on in the world, it wouldn't be such a big deal. But I find solace in finding characters that are coded to be a certain minority, like me. Like, when they're coded to be black, I have, like, a sense of, an unconscious sense of, like, friendliness toward that character, because I'm so used to not seeing people that resemble me. So I sort of cling on to those sort of things, and it just comes off a little wrong when I realize, like, the idea of that closeness I had with that person is gone because they actually are just using a black coded character to get some whatever brownie points or whatever. It's just, I would say, keep in mind things outside of the vacuum of what you think you're using it for, and it's just better to avoid doing it because it's less of a headache when you do. Like, I'm not saying I don't think people should be able to use, like, memes with black people and only use memes with white people or Latino people or Latina people or Latina people. I'm saying, in the general scope of things, just to keep in mind what people might assume about you. So, basically, just be responsible on the internet. Just be responsible. That's about it. Yeah.
Now, pigging off that train of thought, if you remember, there was an artist that had their friends with them, and they were all on stream.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what the name of the artist was, but I remember that the character was like a green husky or something, and they named it LaQuisha or something like that. Something stereotypically ghetto. And when they were called out on it, they played the victim card, saying they didn't know that it was offensive and they were going to try to be better and listening and learn, whatever. And
yeah.
Do you think that implicit biases played a big role in situations like that?
Could you elaborate on what you mean? Like implicit biases, how?
Like they're with white people that are joining in with them and saying it's like funny or whatever, and there's people in the chat saying it's funny or whatever. And they don't necessarily put together that they are basically making fun of black people with this.
Oh yeah. Okay, so the thing about that is, I would say it's more collective ignorance than anything, because I sort of learned that in my few months of trying to do BLM things and get people to understand stuff is, when the numbers come down to it, you have people, I think someone said this and it's super true. You could be a furry in the fandom for as long as it was made and never meet a black furry. And yeah, because someone pointed this out. They said someone could literally be in the fandom for who knows how long and never meet a black furry. And that sounds crazy, I know. But also, when you break it down, it makes a whole bunch of sense, because just based on the population of the United States, if there were only 100 people in America, only around 14 of them would be black. And around, I think, 65 of them would be white.
Holy shit.
So, literally, you could go throughout your entire life never meeting a black person, never meeting a black furry, and never being told about black culture. So, when that sort of stuff happens, I keep that in mind, because it's true. Like, maybe they literally had no idea because they've never met a black furry before. They were never friends with a black furry before. There was no black people in their stream before. Like, it's crazy to think about, but, like, that's literally possible. So, yeah, I don't think it's implicit bias. I think it's just collective ignorance.
So they literally have nothing to go off of in most
Yeah.
cases, you're thinking.
Yeah, because when those people that are around them start saying, oh, whatever, whatever, and they start making the jokes, it's like, who are they going to ask? Because chances are their other white friends haven't seen black people before either. And chances are no one's ever Googled, is it offensive to start saying black sounding names? Like, and even then, you can have that one dude who asked their black friend once, and their black friend found nothing wrong with it. So it's like, it's just this huge thing going on that I think it's just an ignorance problem, honestly. Um, but that doesn't excuse the people that start saying "I forgive you" and they're not even black. No, that doesn't excuse y'all.
Absolutely not. That's like the most annoying thing that I've seen actually coming out of this.
Oh yeah, you see it all the time. It's not even just furries. People just do that. The most recent example is the I can't even say it because it's a slur for Inuit people. But you saw that with that place in Oklahoma that said, well, 90% of our customers. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You see it with that. You see it with that. They say 90% of our customers say there's nothing wrong with it. And of that 90%, how many are Inuits? Probably 0. But it doesn't matter to people sometimes because they only see the percentage and not the people behind the percentage.
Holy shit. I didn't even know that company existed. But when I looked at the logo and everything, it was just, no.
Yeah. So I honestly believe it's just this collective ignorance problem, if anything. It's literally the fact that no one has met BIPOC people in their life to tell them, hey, that's not right. Because there's not a lot of BIPOC people out there. And that's what it means when you're a minority, because it sucks.
Gotcha. Well, we're saying this right now. Don't do that.
Oh, yeah. Do not do that.
Please do not do that.
Do not do that at all.
Okay,
also, if you want to do something, ask people. Like, ask. Literally ask.
Yes, because more of us are being vocal about our positions. We're everywhere. You can find us. There's Wolf, there's Chessie, there's Vatica, there's Zeon, there's me.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Just ask somebody out there. I identify them by the icon of their fursona biting through the blue line flag. Not all of them are black, but most of them are.
And even if they're not, most of the people with that as their icon understand what's going on, so they'll probably lead you to someone too. So it works out.
It does work out. Now, moving on to sexuality. How would you describe your sexuality / gender identity?
I'm probably demisexual and asexual as fuck.
I see. What part of it? Like the gray or the purple or...
Honestly, I don't know the colors, but I know for a fact that, as I said, sexual stuff is, like, over my head. I have no idea what sexual things are.
Okay, so let's just say gray for now.
Yeah, we're gonna...
And you said that you were trans before?
Yes.
What were your pronouns?
He, him.
Gotcha. Would you say that being a furry had any influence on it or made it easier for you to express yourself? Broadly
definitely.
speaking. Gotcha.
Definitely.
So if you weren't a furry and you had this fursona, you'd say that it would be a little bit more difficult for you to come to terms with this part of who you are?
If it wasn't for the fandom, I wouldn't have the Sona, for one. Basically, the furry fandom is one of the more open and more comfortable places I feel expressing myself, because if it wasn't for the fandom, I would not be expressing myself right now. That is for sure.
Damn. That's really potent, actually.
Yeah, I did not come from the most LGBTQ friendly of places.
Gotcha. Where would that be?
Just my family in general.
Just your whole family just not for it? Not for it at all?
Oh, yeah. They are religious and not for LGBTQ plus stuff.
Damn. Have
I
you come
actually
out
heard.
yet?
I tried. Oh, I try. Isn't that a question coming up? Because, ooh, we gotta save that one.
No, we can talk about that now. We can go for it
Ooh,
now.
you don't understand. Oh, oh, it is such a story. You have no idea. It's so.
Go for it.
Oh,
Go for it. We're
okay.
listening. We're listening to you.
Trying to do this TLR version, TLR too long didn't read version of
Yes.
my life. Because I am going to go in super depth about everything when I do the first podcast episode for Furries Let's Talk About Race. But for the most part, when I tried to come out to my mom, who I was raised to believe was the more sane of my two parents, I can't even say it's like worst case scenario because I don't think anyone ever has this idea as their worst case scenario, but it happened. Like,
did she throw shit at you?
Okay, so basically, came to my mom. We were sitting at this big table in the formal room, and I'm sitting in my chair, and I basically say, like, Mom, I said, Mom, I wish I was a boy or something like that. I didn't even say I was trans, but oh my god, the hellfire that ensued was a nightmare. My mom started going off the rails, started yelling all these hurtful things, and she was just pissed. Like, she was angry.
Whoa.
Oh my gosh, she was fucking angry. She like started saying stuff like, how could you? You're disappointing your grandmother. I can't tell anyone about this. You blah, blah, blah. And then she was just like, just going crazy off the rails, and like, she wasn't throwing things, but she might as well have started throwing things. So I think I would have rather her throw things at me other than keep talking, because she was just like, your family on your dad's side is always trying to find an excuse to call you retarded or something, and you're just giving the mammo. And
what the fuck?
Oh yeah, it was bad. It was bad, and I'm just sitting there, like, hands like just clasped in front of me. I'm just sitting there taking it all, doing nothing, and she's just saying things like, I know you're gonna start yelling and getting all angry, and literally just saying all the things she's doing to me. And literally my own sister went to her because my little sister was there. My sister's 6 years younger than me, and at the time she was about 18 or 17, and she's like listening to my mom say all this stuff about how I'm gonna react and I'm gonna start like getting angry and throwing things and all other stuff, and she literally just looks at my mom and says, Mom, they don't do that. Like, all the things my mom was like saying I was gonna do, my sister knew I don't do. And she was just, it was crazy. It was, like, she was saying things
Jesus
like, I don't
Christ.
care if you want to be called handsome or whatever, you're beautiful and I won't say anything. And like, she was, I wish I had it recorded, because like, God, it was awful. And I don't even think I got a word in edgewise. And she started asking me if I was lesbian or something, and she was just like going on this tangent about being lesbians and how being trans was the worst thing possible because you're changing your body and all this other stuff. And like, literally after all of this, the entire conversation ended in, I'm so glad you're just trying to tell me you're lesbian, because I couldn't be, you being trans would be the worst thing possible. And I just sat there. Just sat there like,
wow.
Oh yeah.
How did you go from trying to come out as trans and then she decided you were coming out as a lesbian?
I really don't know. I have no idea.
That is crazy.
I literally was just flabbergasted. I had no idea how to process anything. Like, she said so much hurtful shit, and she like got the total wrong message somehow. Like, I have no idea how you get you're lesbian out of I wish I was a boy. Like, what? What? And then it ended off with, I'm glad you're lesbian because being trans would be the worst thing possible. Like, that was the whole point of the conversation. And even then, my parents don't see lesbians as better. My mom just saw it better than being trans. Because they'd still sit there and try and, like, convert me back to Christianity and whatever. So it was like, it's not that they would have been fine with me being lesbian. It was a mess. So yeah, my family, not very LGBTQ friendly.
Damn, that's freaking crazy.
Oh yeah,
I'm sorry you had to go through that. That's, oh my god.
Well, recently I did attempt to come out to my dad, and like night and day compared to my mom. So out of both of my parents, my dad would probably be the more accepting of the two, but he also is like sees it as a like hurdle to Jesus or something. So
a hurdle to Jesus.
You know, okay. I don't know how else to describe it. It's not right, that he sees it's fine, but it's like it's okay, we'll get through it, I guess. I don't know, man. I don't even think he understands what it means. I just think he knows it's like a word.
Okay. Do people treat you differently in the fandom after finding out that you're trans?
Let me see. Well, I feel like the right answer should be yes.
But you feel like it?
Yeah, like, you would think, okay, so these are my new pronouns, that, things should change, but I feel like it hasn't.
No?
So, it's like, I still get the people who go by the wrong pronouns and use the wrong name, but, like, honestly, there has been a little bit of a change when people try and be nicer to me, but I feel like since I don't pass it all, I still, even being trans, I still get, even with the label that you get at cons that tell you your pronouns, I still get people treating me as a cis female, so.
Really quickly, I've linked resources in the show notes, or in case you're on my website, rhinorrights.com, it should be the first link that you see on the episode's display page. There's a ton of BLM resources and other stuff that I'll try to keep updated. If you're enjoying the content, listening and learning, a donation always helps us so much. We also appreciate you guys just sharing the episode, telling your friends, sharing on Twitter, etc. You can follow the show at whatsthefuzz_ on Twitter, or my sound engineer and best friend at VOGoat. To keep up with all things Reiner, just head over to @ReinerWrites on Telegram to join my channel. Thanks. Back to the show. So on mental health, growing up black and feeling the constant stress and worry on your day-to-day, it has an effect on you, right?
Oh, yeah.
What effect do you feel it has on the mental health over time?
Not good. Not good at all. It's terrible, actually.
How would you describe going through one day as a black person? Just living as black.
Let's see. So, let's just go with my day right now. I wake up, and I wake up in a place that doesn't really want to talk about race issues, and I wake up in a place that wants to just avoid anything that makes them uncomfortable, and I wake up surrounded by not black people, but white people. So, I wake up, dread going to the store, because before COVID things released, I know I would get stares from people because I just didn't look like I belonged, and since they were doing the only people in a house can go together, I figured that because of the stares I was getting, people were just assuming I was just trying to sneak in with them, and I stuck out a lot. So it's a constant pressure of paranoia and anxiety, wondering how people visualize me, and knowing they don't see me as this trans black man, they see me as possible girlfriend to white dude right next to me. And that honestly sucks, because that just makes me feel invalidated the entire time I'm in a store. And then on top of that, you have me still in contact with my parents and them trying to get me home. because they don't feel safe with me because of everything going, or safe with me not being near them because of everything going on with the virus and BLM and all the people that are suffering because of racism. And so I just have, basically, I wake up every day wondering what the right decision is and never finding the right decision because both decisions aren't the right decision. And I also now have the ever growing anxiety of knowing that deadlines are approaching and I have to work for Amazon soon, and I literally am learning that people are going on strike because of the conditions there, and COVID's a huge problem there, and then I have to remember I have no health insurance here because all of my health insurance is in a different state, and like I can't really describe in general what it means because like first of all, it's a nightmare because not only do I have to deal with all of this, but I also have to deal with all of the traumas that came with growing up in the house that I did. And since I have to deal with those without the access to health insurance or health care or anything therapy related, and because my parents try to hammer in the idea of therapy being terrible for me because I'm black, I'm terrified of the idea of going to a therapist. I really am. And it's like, even though I want to go to a therapist and I want to talk about how I like feel like a terrible person because I'm not with my family and my dad got laid off because of some racist at his job wanting him to get fired and winning, I want to talk to a therapist about what it feels like to be suppressed and oppressed in this current day of feeling like people are choosing racists over me, and the idea of thinking that I'd finally be safe, and then first thing I see when I get here is a "Don't Tread on Me" sticker. Like, I want to talk about race issues with a therapist, but just based on the percentages and the fact that I can't afford that, and the idea of knowing when I go in there, more than likely, I'm going to get a white therapist, and they won't really understand what I'm talking about. And on top of that, my only other diagnosis that I have for going to therapy is bipolar disorder, which my mother vehemently told me would destroy all possibilities of getting a job. I'm afraid of. I'm just not sure what to do. Really, like waking up is terrible. I hate it. It's awful, and it could all have been avoided if I was just born a different color. And sort of sucks to think about. It really does.
Damn. It sounds like
Yeah.
you're in a constant cycle of like anxiety mixed with fear and then stress on top of that.
Oh yeah. And it honestly blew my mind when I saw someone talking about like the different measures of pain, but not like pain, but mental pain.
Hmm.
It honestly blew my mind that when I read the descriptions, I realized I was either in severe or like I should call somebody. Like, I constantly live my life in the degrees of call someone and definitely call someone. So it's like, that's just my constant living. That's just how living is for me. And it's so crazy to think about how people, the normal is not what I deal with.
Yeah, and going back to something you said that your father told you that therapy was bad for black people. What's
Oh,
up
my
with
mom
that?
told me that. My
Okay,
mom
your
told
mom
me
told
that.
you that. What's up
Yeah,
with that?
basically my family actually has a history of therapy destroying their chances of getting a job. Um, like they would apply to places to work, and as soon as they realized they were going to therapy, they wouldn't get hired. And so, and also the idea of like psychiatry prescribing medications ended up hurting my family more than it helped them. So, for example, Prozac in my family, which is commonly prescribed for things such as like bipolar disorder or I think depression or something. Just
Right.
it's so common to be prescribed, but my family has a history of it having terrible effects and it not doing what it should do. So they would see people go therapy, they get worse, and people go therapy and they don't get hired because they would not be hired because they went to therapy, and they would apparently be told that because someone was studying to be a nurse, and as soon as the person trying to hire them realized they were going to therapy, they didn't get hired.
That's crazy.
So yeah, so when it came to learning about how that affects them and the already pressures of knowing they have to work twice as hard as everybody else, the idea of therapy causing that to make it even harder for them just made therapy a terrifying idea, and they don't want to do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, I've never had to deal with any of that. So hearing that is just, man, that's a lot to take in, honestly. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, it happened, I'm guessing, a long time ago. Not like long, but
Yeah.
maybe 20 years, maybe, if I had to guess. I don't know the exact time frame, but I know it affected my family so much that it just left a lasting effect, and they ended up not really trusting mental health care or anything.
I could understand that, but
Yeah.
I definitely suggest that you get that help.
Oh yeah.
Well, not to use personal anecdotes or anything, but I do have friends that are black, of course, and they have gotten that help, and it has helped their mental state. And it
Oh
doesn't
yeah.
seem to be affecting them,
Oh
like
yeah.
their work related or their
Oh yeah.
interpersonal kind of better, I guess.
Yeah,
a little
I
bit,
definitely
but
recommend therapy, but like once that affects so many generations of my family, I actually become the bad guy for suggesting therapy.
I
Like
can
I
understand
literally,
why.
yeah, like my mom actually used it as a insult to me when I told my sister to listen to her doctor. Like my mom was just like, "Of course you would say listen to your doctor, miss. Always listen to your doctor." Like it literally was used as an insult against me because that's how little my family trusts
Damn.
doctors. Oh yeah.
This is the effect that racism has.
Oh yeah.
Because if anything, they were using that as a reason to point out a flaw in your past family members. Like, look at this person, they're so crazy, they have to go to therapy. You know, like that whole thing. Crazy
My
old black
family.
people.
Yep. My family has always had to deal with racism. Even my dad in 2020, like I said, got fired. Or not fired, he got quote unquote laid off because of a racist that did not like him.
Just straight up racism, just want him gone.
Exactly. Like, he literally did nothing wrong. He just didn't bow down to this racist person who literally went around the job and sung about Mexicans being forced over the border wall. And this was in Arizona, so there were Mexicans that worked there. And he was singing it to them on purpose. And he didn't get fired, but because he was so high up, my dad did. And
Wow.
so, yeah, it literally affects people.
What a piece of shit.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
It affects people.
Do you feel as though the lack of funding into mental health facilities and other after-school programs play into this?
Oh, yes, for sure. I also feel it's not even just funding, but if you look into the history of, just for example, because I know most about it, black people and the healthcare system, the healthcare system literally has never been kind to black people.
Yeah, I was just finding out about this myself with the whole kidney thing. Like, I had no idea. And the black women, the birth rate, the birth mortality rate, I can't remember what it was called.
Yeah,
That shit.
Yep. There's like a history of black people being screwed over by the healthcare system, and the Tuskegee experiment is a huge one. The fact that they used black communities to test the effects of AIDS is a huge one. Or not
Wait,
AIDS.
what?
I think it was opioids. I think they used opioids. I can't remember exactly, but they do a lot of tests on black people communities. It's literally, if you look up the Tuskegee experiment, whew.
Would you briefly go over that for the listeners?
They used black communities to study syphilis.
How do you do that?
Okay, so I'm reading it real quick so I can make sure I do it right. But if you look up Tuskegee experiment, it's basically called U.S. Public Health Service Syphilis Study at Tuskegee. And Tuskegee is actually a city.
Mm-hmm.
So they used the city to test syphilis in 1932 all the way to 1972.
Holy shit.
And the purpose of the study was to observe the natural history of untreated syphilis. The African American men in the study were only told they were receiving free health care from the federal government of the United States.
So they would, like, plant it on them?
Basically.
What?
Like, they literally injected it into it. Like, I definitely suggest looking into this because it's just hard to summarize and there's just so many parts. Actually, I didn't even know about this. Doc Wolverine told me about it in the BLM group and I was just like, oh my god.
Dude, that's fucking crazy.
Oh yeah, it literally is. It's just insane. Because basically, instead of treating the syphilis, they just let it keep going.
Oh my god. That's literally like just setting a few random trees on fire and just letting it go.
Exactly, just to study what happens.
They already did that too when they bombed that house in what was it? That Philly, right? They bombed that house in Philly and they let it burn. They turned the fires out.
They also injected crack into black communities, and that's a whole other thing.
Yep.
There's like so many reasons why black people as a whole don't really trust the healthcare system. And that's why after doing some learning, I don't really blame my family for not trusting healthcare.
I don't fucking blame them either. Fucking injecting syphilis free. That's literally taking advantage of poor people that can't afford health. I can't.
It literally is terrible.
Oh my, that literally makes me sick to my stomach.
And May 16, 1995, Bill Clinton formally apologized on behalf of the United States to victims of the study. So that was 1997 that he finally apologized for the study. Someone finally apologized for the study in 1997.
BEA beautiful. 10 out of 10, guys. You did it. Congratulations.
There's just so many stories for why black people don't trust it. And there's so many reasons for why, like you said, there's a reason that poorer communities don't have access to things such as learning and healthcare and education and stuff. Like, it's a reason this sort of stuff happens, and it's terrible.
It is terrible. It's like the United States is committed to shitting on poor people and the misfortunate.
I mean, it is.
Relentless.
I mean, it is.
It is. It really is.
Like, I mean, the president right now said it, like, flat out. So.
Oh, God. Let's not get into the fucking Cheeto Man today. I don't think I could handle it, honestly. I don't think I can handle it.
Yeah.
Now, you said before that you grew up Christian.
Yeah.
And not to be stereotypical, but a lot of lower class black people tend to be very devoutly Christian.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel that affected you growing up?
Well, like I said, mental health was not the best to my family. And honestly, if I had to talk about religion, I would do it a disservice by just talking about it without that, because Christianity is prevalent in the black community for a lot of reasons, but also it is sort of seen as this, like, answer to mental health issues. So, I would say how it affected me personally was it kept me alive. I mean, I wasn't allowed to go to therapy. I wasn't allowed to get help. I am neurodivergent to the max. Like, I am only normal-ish because I had to be. I'm not normal all the time. I literally have probably ADHD up the wazoo because it's so hard for me to focus. I procrastinate. I have so many things going on at once and I can't finish any of them, and I terrify and I have anxiety and all this other stuff. But if it wasn't for Christianity, it's not that it was like a good thing to me. It was just I literally would avoid wanting to do bad things, like wanting to, I don't know how to describe it without what's the rating on this podcast?
You can say whatever you want, it's fine.
Basically, if it wasn't for Christianity, I probably wouldn't even be alive right now. And it's not because someone was going to shoot me and then they remember God existed. No, it's not that. It's I had a lot of depression and suicidal thoughts a lot growing up. And it wasn't that God came down in my dream one day and said, "Don't do that." And it's not anything like that. It's the idea of hell terrified me enough to not kill myself.
Good old hell. There it is.
Yeah. Like, so it's like religion, I'm not gonna say I'm like this devout, saved my life Christian, because honestly, it was used against me in so many ways. It was used to force me into this like perfect housewife bubble.
Right.
I was told that God didn't like people who did medications or like mental health drugs. Like God felt like it was really used against me to get me to not take mental health things when I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and seriously struggling with life. And it became such a huge deal to my parents that my own mom cared more about my religious faith than my own mental and physical health. I don't know how to describe that in a way that doesn't sound terrible because it honestly is. To be a parent and be so obsessed with your child believing in whatever religion that you believe in that you would sacrifice their own mental health and stability to force them to fit into that religious box that you want for them. There's like, that was the main thing that really affected me, to be honest. Because before all that, I was told that as a Christian, you should love and treat everybody, and God doesn't judge and whatever. But like when I'm sitting there and I literally am telling you I was suicidal and I legit went to my school therapist, not because I wanted to defy you, but because my own boss at the time took me down there because I was so bad. It's like, if your child comes to you and says someone else that barely knows them took them somewhere like to a therapist, and the first thing you worry about is their faith, it's just religion basically made me not trust people, to be honest. Every time someone tells me they're religious, I just remember, instead of being allowed to go see a therapist, my family forced me to read the Bible instead. I wasn't allowed to make any appointments. I wasn't allowed to see anybody. I was just forced to read the Bible because to them, mental health was just demons. I was only feeling certain ways because of demons. And mental health was just demons. White people used medication and black people had Jesus and stuff like that. I was actually told that by my mom, by the way. Yeah,
that's a religion.
New one. Oh yeah, my mom told me that medication is for white people because black people have Jesus. So religion really did not help me growing up. The only reason I'm grateful for it is because without it, child me would have killed themselves a long time ago. And if it wasn't for it, I wouldn't be here. But yeah, for me personally, it's just not my thing.
Yeah, I understand that in that regard, at least. That fear of hell will keep you here for a little bit longer. Glad it did.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, boy.
Man.
That was a big one. That was juicy. Damn.
I literally have so many juicy things in my life. Ooh.
Hey, I hear you. Anything that you get past just makes you stronger, right?
Hopefully. I think
yeah, we'll just keep saying that, and hopefully it'll work out.
I can't tell if it's because it made me stronger. I'm just ridiculously stubborn.
Well, I would compare you to something like a tire. You know, even if you pop it, it still goes on for a little bit longer.
Yeah, I literally probably just pump myself as I go. I'd have no idea how I'm here. I'm like, how am I here?
You pump
I
yourself,
don't know.
You say. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Don't kink shame me.
You get my
Don't kink shame me.
Yeah,
I'll hurt you.
Oh.
Right. Oh. That's like my response whenever someone says something. I'm like, don't kink shame me.
I mean, honestly, if you want to talk about kink shaming, why are you talking about hurting me, huh? What is that, kink shaming me? Exactly.
Ooh.
Exactly.
Ooh.
So, did you want to say anything else on that before we move on?
On what? What was I talking about? Hello?
Oh, shit. What were you talking about? Oh, you're talking about demons.
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 The demons. Oh, I will say that I feel religion for my family is used to explain mental health issues that they don't want to get help for. That's what I'm going to say on that.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really do much about those demons, but
like I'll say I think there's actual demons out there, maybe. Like, I'm not going to say demons don't exist, but also I feel like it's used to just not let people get help because they're either scared to get help or they think they can pray it away when it's not actually demons.
Exactly. Yo, if you're experiencing demons out there, I think that you should see a therapist. Try to get some mental help.
Okay, first of all, if you actually have demons, I don't think the therapist wants to meet them. You should probably see an exorcist.
A therapist that moonlights as an exorcist.
Therapist by day.
That's the ultimate aid.
Therapist by day, exorcist by night.
Exactly. Now,
I'd see that.
On being black, do you feel as though there's a disconnect between the furry fandom as a whole and the BIPOC furries?
Yes. Oh, should I expand on just yes.
Yes. I mean, that's a good place to start.
Just yes. ... Oh wait, I should talk.
Yeah, you're fairly new to the fandom as it is. You've only been in it officially for like less than a year, right?
I'd say a year and 6 months.
Okay, that's a decent amount of time, I suppose.
That was like my first deep dive into the fandom.
Gotcha, and you can feel the divide.
Oh yeah, and it's so crazy, really. It's insane to me how deep the rabbit hole of division goes.
Yeah, I honestly had like no idea before any of this stuff happened, because I just kind of followed furries that drew the nice things or whatever, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But as we get into it, it becomes more and more obvious that there's the BIPOC furries, and then there's furries, because people assume that furries are white nerdy guys that sit in their basement and make EDM music all day or whatever.
Mm-hmm. There's like a huge divide, and I'm not gonna I'm not saying because when people when you tell people there's a huge divide, they just assume that you're trying to say like so and so is racist or something, but it's not that furries are racist. It's just, again, that ignorance. It's the fact that some of these furries have probably never had a BIPOC friend in their life. It's the fact that it's literally a community of people, like, even America-wise, like I said, based on the population numbers, 100 people, there's like 13 black people, 65 white people, and then those are the only numbers I know because I've been talking about BLM so much. But, so basically you have 65 white furries, and then you have, 35 non-white furries. And that's just in the general population of America. So 100 people, and who knows, I think furries could probably make up like, I don't even know how much furries make up, but it's not more than half. So let's say, just to be cool, that in round numbers, that 10% of people.
I think there were 45,000 people online on FA the last time I checked.
I'm trying to like figure, because like when you have numbers, it sort of makes things make sense, because you can have 100 people in America. There's more than 100 people, I know, but 100 people in America, 65 of them are white, 35 of them are BIPOC, and then you have like 10% of the 100 are furries. So there's like 10 furries. And just numbers-wise, more than likely, all 10 of them would be white, because that's just statistics. And the fact that 10% of a population of 100 could end up just being all white can sort of tell you that, just based on the collective ignorance, because I know most furries are afraid to talk, or they have self-confidence issues, or they don't like going out much, and that sort of thing. So you're not just getting 10, like, normal, everyday, extroverted people. You're usually getting 10 people who don't like talking to people because social interaction terrifies them. So when you just break it down to the numbers, it makes sense that there's a divide between BIPOC furries and non-BIPOC furries. And it's not because it's racism, it's just because of just some of these people have never met a BIPOC person in their life, and they just assume that BIPOC people go through the same things they do. So they just assume that everyone in the fandom wants quote-unquote escapism, and that everyone in the fandom is a good person. And we all know that's not true, but that's what people want to believe. Because when you go into a fandom thinking that everyone is like a family because we all share this like of anthropomorphic animals and such, some people look at that and they say, everyone in this fandom is a good person. Everyone in this fandom, I just want to see their cute fursonas, because everyone has to be a good person because we all like cute animals. But then you get the BIPOC furries who have been through so much bullshit that they know that's not true when they go into it. So the BIPOC furries are, I guess, in a way being more realistic. And it's because they have to be. Because the way they've been going through life is literally, some of them have been going through life and it's literally been out to get them this entire time. And so they have to be cautious, and they know more red flags than normal furries do. And they can spot things that they should be like, okay, this isn't good, and they're not afraid to call it out, because in this fandom, if they don't, then it could lead to bad things for them, or other people like them, or just other BIPOC in general. And the divide comes when, I guess, you have people who don't know how harsh reality can be start seeing these people that seem to just make things harder than they need to be, when these people have actually just been dealing with life being harder than it should be for them. And they can spot all the bad people that the majority of people just don't realize are bad. So I feel like the divide just comes from, honestly, it just boils down to life experiences.
Just having a different
Yeah.
perspective in general creates the divide between them.
Uh-huh.
Damn.
And it's not, like I said, it's not because non-BIPOC furries are racist. It's just non-BIPOC furries don't know anything about that sort of stuff. The divide's gonna be there as long as we just don't talk about it, because I know it's uncomfy for some people, but it's literally necessary if we're going to get this fandom to be a better place for everybody.
I definitely want to see that day when furries just collectively, or at least most of them, can like agree to kick out the shitty people, keep in the good people, keep everybody educated on the same level, because the way that people express themselves through their fursonas adds so much to what people do normally.
Like, sometimes that's just the only way they're going to experience the stereotypicalness sometimes, because as much as they want to know what it feels like, or as much as they want to try and seek out that experience for themselves, they're not gonna get it. Because they're white. Like, they literally won't get it because they're white. And that's just the boiled downness of it. So maybe I should rephrase the BIPOC coded Sona as, like, depends on your intentions, I guess. Because maybe they're just trying to figure out if racism really is in the fandom or something or whatever. But then even that means nothing.
I don't know how I feel about people RPing as Tyrone.
Exactly.
I don't know.
It's like low key. I could understand if people think in their mind that this is the only way they can really experience the BIPOC experience, but like, I honestly just don't know why people would code their sonas. I just can't think. I think it would be because they want to know what it's like, but like, you're not gonna get it. You're just not. It's just easier if you just go by other people's stories and their own experiences. Like, I don't understand, man. I don't know why anyone would even want to go through it. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me.
Exactly. Now, originally, I created this series of interviews for BIPOC furries to express themselves, but to convince people that we're saying all lives matter and stuck to their blissful ignorance that race issues weren't really a thing in America right now, and the BLM movement was kind of moot. Now, I think this serves as a better purpose as just being a general, like I wouldn't want to say a soapbox, but I mean, kind of, for BIPOC furs to express not only their own experiences, but what they hope for in the future for things to improve. So they don't have to go in day and day out hating their lives or hating waking up or hating going to the store, etc. Just being able to enjoy being in the fandom as much as the white furries do, because they don't get that same experience that white furries seem to get.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah, it's definitely it's a deep.
Yeah, we went pretty deep in there, didn't we?
I have a tendency of, like, if you couldn't tell, I talk a lot, but I talk in a hopefully that I'm, like, explaining things and educating as best as I know how.
Yeah, you're doing fine. Even if you do sound a little scrambled, my sound editor will fix all this for us. So, did you want to say anything else before we moved on to the final question?
Love your BIPOC furries.
Okay. Love your BIPOC furries.
Support BIPOC furries. We need it. It's tough out here.
Oh, and I did want to add that even though these are mostly going to be BIPOC furs on the show, I will have the occasional white person, but hopefully I won't get a cis white male on here, because that would be a little redundant. Unless you want to unless you guys vote for fucking, I don't know, I don't know if Majora Strawberry is even like straight. He's probably gay, probably.
I would honestly, when it comes to like cis white male,
Right.
that's like a thing all of its own. Ooh.
Yeah, I know. He's like the ultimate Bakugan or something, so I don't really see the point of having them on my show, to be frank.
I mean, there are some that are like not, there's some out there that understand what's going on. And it would sort of be interesting to hear their perspective on why they think people are the way they are in this fandom.
The people like that I've reached out to, they tell me that they would feel bad to take spotlight away from other BIPOC first. So, that's where we are with that.
But like it's weird. Like I see people say that a lot, but it's not taking spotlight away. It's like honestly, I've learned based on everything I'm doing that sometimes it just takes them to say something, as sad and truthful as that is. There are literally people out there that won't listen to BIPOC unless they say something, and then they can feel like they relate to it more, because sometimes it just takes that, like, oh, and I can't give them that oh because I have never had the cis white male experience.
That's totally valid.
Mm-hmm.
Now, okay, I guess 2 questions then. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So,
I'm ready. I'm ready. Hit me.
First of all, in as concise a matter as you can possibly muster, how do you feel about the Black Lives Matter movement as of today?
I think it's
August
great.
3rd. That wasn't done yet.
I think it's amazing. I don't care what day it is.
Got it. That's a good start. Do you feel that it's improving our way of life more than taking away from it as of right now?
Oh, definitely. Yes. 1,000 times yes. 1,000,000 times yes. I understand that people are mad, that riots or whatever the fuck, but like, shut up.
Damn, you tell them, Zeon. Shut up.
I literally, it's so hard to get people, because every time you say something, they want to whip out the MLK, and they just whip their MLK on the table, and
right.
Because
bruh,
like,
put your MLK away.
It.
He got shot.
I know. MLK literally got shot. He got killed for being peaceful, and then nothing changed until people rioted for 6 days after he died.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, people. Every time someone tries to tell me peaceful this, peaceful that, I lose a year on my life.
Okay. Now, the last question I'm going to ask you. Who do you look up to in the fandom, and are there any BIPOC who you feel deserve more recognition?
Oh god, this is always a hard question for me. Heck. I've always said no to this question. Because, I don't know, it's just such a weird thing for me to talk about. I've never wanted to say I look up to people or anything, because it made me feel like if anything happened to them, I'd fail or something. So I just always did things by myself. But when it comes to just, like, feeling empowered to speak on things, I would say, honestly, probably all of the chairs of the BIPOC con. Like, they inspired me to want to even make the podcast Furries Let's Talk About Race. And if it wasn't for them taking the big steps and saying, you know what, let's just make our own con, I wouldn't have said, you know what, let's just try and make our own podcasts or our own documentary or whatever, because, I don't know, it seems empowering to me. It seems really empowering to me that they do that, and it's nice. Even though it terrifies me that I don't know what to do with anything in the podcast and have no idea what I'm doing and no one knows who I am. Just the idea of them being able to make a con, even though I have no idea who they are, it gives me a little bit of hope. So now I can finally answer that question and say and say, yes, I do actually look up to some people in the community, and it's sort of nice.
That's why representation is important. That's why it matters.
Really, really important.
I know that white people just kind of expect there to be white superheroes, and they expect there to be white teachers, executives, whatever. Okay, teachers don't make that much money, but still, you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know. It's I see it a lot. It's quite common, actually. And it's, I don't know. To sum it up, I saw a really good protest, what are they called? Protest sign that basically sums it up as when you are colorblind, you're blind to the plight of people of color. And people will start saying, I don't get why BIPOC need their own con. I don't get why BIPOC need their own this, that, and the other thing. And it's because they don't realize that everyone around them is the same color they are. And they don't realize how little representation there is for BIPOC people who just want to feel like they can do something. Like, I don't even think I could have... It's just... It's crazy. I don't even... I wanted to be an artist when I first joined this fandom, and I just felt like I couldn't do it because I couldn't. There's just not a lot of representation out there for me to give me hope. So I ended up just sort of giving up on that.
Yeah, now that you're into it, there's more black furries that are, posting about the fact that they actually are black. And it's cool to be like, hey, a black person drew that, and they have like 2,000 followers. I could have 2,000 followers. That's a nice thing that I could do.
I actually was afraid to tell people I was black online because of all of the stereotypes and whatever people would give me. I actually got so many backhanded compliments from white furries.
Oh, don't tell me. Was it like, wow, I can't believe a black person drew something that nice? Or,
no.
Wow.
It was more so like people would see my art and then they'd hear my voice and be shocked I was black. Like, apparently I don't sound black enough for some people. And I have been told that, well, not by furries, but by people that they're super glad that I don't sound like black people. Oh yeah, it's. I was afraid to put my ethnicity online for a long time.
So, Zeon, are you black?
Yes, shockingly, yes, I am.
You sound black. Congratulations. It's just that simple.
It literally isn't that... Like, I don't get why people think it's a compliment to tell a black person they don't sound black.
I don't either. But...
Yeah. It's a ride. It's a ride.
It is a ride. And I think that's a good note to end on. That Zeon is black. You got the answer to your question, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. Now, you can catch Zeon at Zeonvibe on Twitter. Check them out on YouTube. Their podcast, Furries Let's Talk About Race, will be coming out eventually. Maybe, possibly. If you'd like to support the show, just share this episode around. Send us a coffee at Ko-fi/Reiner. All the links can be found at my linktree/Reiner. You've got 5 minutes, or 5 seconds. You've got 5 seconds to promote something. Go for it.
Harvest Moon Howlfest. Is that 5 seconds?
You could have done more. That's fine. That's fine.
Follow me for art and stuff.
No, it's too late. It's too late.
No! I missed my chance.
All right.
No!
Thanks so much for listening, everybody. I'll catch you next time. See ya.